First time you ever see a debut patch auto, or first time you ever see a WrestleMania patch auto, turning heel, final ever, breaking the world record. Mm-hmm. Could you say that this John Cena card, wherever it comes, could be one of the greatest wrestling cards ever made? All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Cards and Content. We have an exciting episode planned today. I'm really looking forward to talking about a lot of fun, timely topics today. We've got a fun episode with a podcast guest on here. Our first member of the team from our team will be joining us today. It was actually completely unexpected, but with some of the timely things going on in the wrestling card space, we'll be bringing our guy Brandon on to talk about debut patches, WrestleMania Patches, the Cactus Jack product, Topps Chrome WWE Buyback, Topps getting the license for WWE. Really, there's a lot of different topics we'll get into, and I'm really looking forward to talking with Brandon. But we're going to start with the one thing on my mind today. Today, the day this episode drops, this is Monday. What's the date, Brian? Monday, April 22nd? I think it's the 22nd. Brian's checking this now. But today is officially 100 days until the National. 100 days until the National is officially today. Sorry, I had my dates off. It's the 21st. But it is officially 100 days till the National. It is. It seems like it was just yesterday. We were in Cleveland for the National, but it'll be here before you know it. We talked about it, I think, on an episode a couple weeks ago about Fanatics Fest, 75 days away, and how quickly that is coming. But we are now at 100 days until the National in Chicago. The start of 3 years for sure in Chicago. Could not be more excited, and for a multitude of reasons. One, for the first time ever, we will be set up as a dealer. First time ever, we will have our booth space. It is booth 1906. We will be set up for the first time ever. We've got a 10 by 15 booth space. Could not be more excited. We're working on some other things we'll hopefully get into very soon, and excited to share more of our plans as those things come to fruition. But for now, I can share for sure we will be set up selling cards for the first time ever on our own. We've had some booth access in the past many years ago, but with the National, the new rules and just how it's supposed to work, I got to go through the lottery process. We will be set up. Excited for that. 100 days from now. In addition to that, just some other things about the National. If you have not looked at booking your hotel, saying you are behind would be an understatement. Most hotels anywhere near the National are sold out and have very, very limited options available. We've had ours booked for quite some time. Thankfully, we are in a major city. We are in Chicago, so there are a lot of hotels available. There are a lot of hotels in proximity, but anything that is a walking distance, like right across the street, directly next to it, I think there's 5 or 6 basically that are like super, super close. Most of those at this point are sold out. A couple, you start getting into those 10-minute walks. A few more, you get into 15, 20-minute walks. But anything that is super, super close is moving quickly, if not full already. So that would definitely be a piece of advice I would say, is if you have not booked your National accommodations for flights, hotels, etc., you should start that sooner rather than later. In doing so, we'll get more into the National tips and tricks. This is content we do every year, but we'll get into more of that soon. The other thing I would mention is if you're doing your accommodations for hotels and flights, should probably look into admission into the National as well. A lot of those are not unlimited. So the VIP packages, all access VIP, 5-day early entry pass, general admission, those things normally don't have, again, an unlimited amount. So a lot of those things will sell out. You know, the all access VIP comes with free parking, autographed VIP tickets, TriStar authentication line priority, 5 free TriStar new record authentication tickets. The list is it's a mile long. There's a ton of things that come with it. We're on the website for the National now, and if you don't know that, nsccshow.com. Get you everything you need to know about the National. But those ticket packages, I would imagine, will start going sooner rather than later. I know we talked about it previously with Fanatics Fest about, hey, tickets dropped this week, and some of their VIP tickets sold out almost immediately. So just keep in mind, if you are planning your trip, it is better to be ahead on these things than to try to wait last minute, because you never know when they're going to sell out, and when they're gone, they're gone. So excited that it is so close. Feels like it'll be here tomorrow. I mean, we're already towards the end of May. It's towards the end of July we're towards the end of April. It happens at the end of July. So excited that is coming up so soon. Next 100 days, we got Fanatics Fest. We got the National, on top of many other things. Summer's a busy, busy time for cards. So a lot of fun, exciting opportunities ahead. Excited to set up. Just cannot wait to be back at the National, one of the best places. It is the Super Bowl for cards. So excited to be back in Chicago. A couple other things to talk about. NFL Draft is this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. As a card collector who does mostly football and is most interested in college football, seeing the guys I followed on Saturday go to the NFL is just beyond exciting. We've talked about it before. We did it a little bit on our episode with our guy Gabe around this idea that the NFL Draft brings out two sets of fans for typically one trying to think of the right word for this. There's only so much product out now for college, or there's only so much product out for these guys in college now. Like Ashton Genty doesn't have NFL cards, so the only thing you can get of Ashton Genty is his college stuff. Well, let's say he goes 6 to the Raiders, right, where I think I've seen him mocked a few times. When I've got Raiders fans that want Ashton Genty cards and will buy a Bowman Chrome card, and Boise State fans are like, hey, my guy's a top 10 running back, I want to get some Ashton Genty cards, and they're competing for the same group of stuff. So you have a lot of demand around those guys going to pro teams around that weekend. So I anticipate the sales volume of Travis Hunter, Shadur Sanders, Cam Ward, all these guys that are going to be drafted this weekend to go pro. And I think it's all, or to go up. And I also think a lot of these other guys going pro will have increased volume in their sales, guys you might not normally sell as much, who are going to be 3rd, 4th, 5th rounders, who are going to have cards and are going to get drafted at a much cheaper price point. So I think the NFL Draft it's one of those times to, get prepared now. We'll have plenty of stuff listed, but it is a big opportunity to sell and transact on the guys that are getting drafted this week. It's one of my favorite times. I love watching the draft, seeing where people going, see where people go, see the trades. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know who the Patriots are going to take. I'm a Patriots guy. I really don't want it to be an offensive lineman. I really want it to be somebody that can make a difference in our team. Not saying they can't, because the Patriots need so many different things at this point. I saw a mock draft on Will Campbell, who I heard is not necessarily a guard, not necessarily a tackle. And I'm like, this would be an awful way to start Mike Vrabel's tenure in New England. If this guy can't play guard or tackle, he's too big for guard, he's too small for tackle, and we draft him at 4 overall. If it goes my way, I would love it to be Abdul Carter. I do not like Penn State. I'm an Ohio State Buckeye through and through, so Penn State just is not a school I care a whole lot about. But that dude is incredible. Reminds me so much of Micah Parsons. He's got a little injury concern, but I could not be more. That's who I want to see taken. I'm hoping it goes Cam Ward, Travis Hunter. I think the Giants are going to either move out of that or take a QB there. I don't know if they can pass on quarterbacks in the first round for 6 years since Danny Dimes. I know attendance was down for them. So I'm hoping they move back and somebody comes up and takes a QB. Not sure who it'll be. But I'm hoping there's a way for Abdul Carter to fall. Brian pulled up a mock draft. This is on, what is this? NFL.com. It's got Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, and it's got the Patriots taking the one The one mock draft Brian pulls up. Just search NFL mock draft. Just pulls it up just to have the conversation about it. And it's got Will Campbell going to the Patriots at 4. Says this is too good. This is too good a fit for a team that desperately needs to improve its offensive line. In my opinion, Campbell is the most polished and best lineman in this class. The highly productive prospect would do well under Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels. Everything I said the opposite of. This is why I don't get paid to follow the NFL. So, just tells you all you need to know about what I think, because these guys think that that's where he's going. So Shadur Sanders to the Raiders, Genty to the Jets. This is what gets me excited. Tyler Warren, 5. Tyler Warren, Penn State. 2 Penn State guys in top 5. And Michigan's going to have 3 or 4 first rounders. I mean, this is going to be disappointing as an Ohio State fan. But this is what gets me excited, is just saying, okay, well, who's going to be the team you're going to want in breaks, right? Like Dallas Cowboys have McMillan in this mock draft at 12. You got Colston Loveland, hate Michigan, great tight end, going 14 to the Colts. Got a lot of skill positions, a lot of big names in here. Just excited to see where some of these guys go. Emeka, 18 to the Seahawks. That would be awesome. Would love to see some of my Buckeyes go in the first round. I'm hoping Travion Henderson goes late in the first round. But again, I'll stop talking about the NFL draft because I could literally talk about it all day. I'm so excited for it. And I just think there's a lot of opportunity around the trading card space with the NFL draft. Speaking of drafts and trading card space, WNBA Draft, Paige Beckers went number 1. Panini's dropping some Panini Instant stuff with Paige. Can see some of her stuff in a Dallas uniform. Shout out to all my friends in Dallas who lost Luca and have been, certainly distraught since losing that. And, you get Paige now, so hopefully she can bring a little light to my friends in Dallas who are, distraught since trading Luca away for, Anthony Davis, 14-year NBA vet, and, a bag of chips. But Paige, you're going to see it this year with Paige. I think Lauren Betts and Juju were next year. You had Caitlin, Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, couple really big WNBA classes in a row. And, I think you're going to continue to see a lot of growth in that space. I think Paige is Caitlin before Caitlin. We talked about this before. She was the number 1 prospect in that class. That class had Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, Caitlin Clark, and Paige. I think it went Paige, Brink, Reese, Clark is how they ended up getting ranked. It depends on it's 2020, Brian. I think it's a 2020 high school women's recruiting class. They were all in the same class, but Paige had those knee injuries, kind of derailed her career early. She comes back for another season, wins a national title, is number 1 draft pick. You can see the flashes. She's absolutely incredible. Yeah, Brian's got the 2020 Hoop Girls recruiting rankings on ESPN's website. Paige, Angel, Brink, Caitlin Clark, Cardoso, Diamond Johnson, Haley Van Lith, who just got drafted. Some big names on here. So excited to see what that looks like. I would imagine Paige stuff will do incredibly well, but excited to see, the Paige, Caitlin dual autos at some point. I would imagine there's some demand for those. So, Caitlin Clark in her second year, and then third year when you start getting Juju in there, Lauren Betts, some of these other names, it's going to be an exciting time for that space, and I would expect some good growth on top of what we've already seen with Caitlin and what she has brought. We'll get into the WWE stuff here in a second with my guy Brandon. This is going to be such a big part of this episode, so we'll kick it over to that interview now because I think this is so timely and so important in that space. So we're going to kick it to the interview with my guy Brandon from our shop team right now. All right, guys, we are back. Another podcast guest here. We've got my guy Brandon from our shop team. We brought Brandon on here for a special interview with a lot of big news dropping this week around WrestleMania, debut patches, Topps Chrome buyback. And if you know our team, if you've been in the shop, you've definitely seen Brandon. He is without question our wrestling expert. So Brandon, thank you for coming on here.
This is awesome. I didn't anticipate being here, but it's going to be really fun.
Brandon is the real MVP in this. This happened within 5 to 10 minutes. We're setting up filming here, and we're talking about some of the topics today, and Brian was like, debut patches, WrestleMania is this weekend. And I was like, well, we got to get my guy Brandon on here. Complete pivot, because we had some other things planned for this week. And we're like, we got to move all these things around. We got to get you on here to talk what is going on this weekend. I want to get into the debut patches. I will get into that in a second because that is really what I want to learn more about, because Topps is doing a lot with, they've done it with soccer, they've done it with baseball, but now we're getting into wrestling, so I want to get into that. But first, as a novice, I'm bottom of the barrel here for like any wrestling knowledge. What is happening this weekend at WrestleMania?
So it used to be a one-night event, but because of how big it is and how much, this is their Super Bowl, basically. In the world of professional wrestling, this is our Super Bowl. They broke it up to 2 days now, Saturday and Sundays. Saturday, night 1, Sunday, night 2.
Okay.
Sundays are typically where the big things are happening, so that's probably where you're going to see Cody and John Cena close it. But essentially, to anybody who hasn't watched pro wrestling, this is without a doubt the biggest. They call it the grandest stage of them all because of how significant it is for wrestling.
Okay.
I'm blanking on the number, but this is
what is this number?
42, 41?
What's search WrestleMania number? Or WrestleMania like April 19th.
I think it's 40. Is it 41?
Yeah, it looks like 41.
Sick.
Yeah, 41.
So 41 consecutive WrestleManias. Started with Hogan, and it's kind of
Hogan was
graduated.
The first one?
Yeah, it kind of graduated to where it is now. It's just a massive spectacle. Las Vegas is flooded with wrestling fans right now, and we're going to see some really good stuff.
All right, so 41 this weekend. The podcast will have dropped after this is happening, but you had kind of filled me in on it when it happened. For those that are listening that are not into wrestling, give me a little backstory, like what happened with John Cena, because I'm learning about like good guys and bad guys in this, and Cody's a good guy, and it sounds like John, I think you called it turning heel.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so like play this out for me on like why this matters this weekend.
So to use the terminology, and all my wrestling fans are going to know this, if you're a good guy, you're considered a babyface.
Okay.
And on the flip side, the bad guys are considered heels.
Okay.
Now with John Cena, he's been around for all my life. I've been watching pro wrestling. I'm 25 years young. Been watching wrestling my whole life, and he's been a guy that I've grown up watching, and he's always been the good guy. He's been on the magazines, doing the Make-A-Wish foundations. He's been the champions. So it's a massive deal for him to basically not only retire, do a full retirement tour, but to now do this back end as a bad guy. Low blow Cody at the end of Elimination Chamber. And there's a reason why it was one of the most talked about things probably ever because of how significant it was that John Cena low blowed the top guy and turned his back on the fans and joined The Rock, sold his soul, as they say. It's something that nobody ever saw coming because of how he is outside of wrestling with the Make-A-Wish. I think he's the most granted Make-A-Wish athlete, and I could be wrong on that, but I feel like that is true. I feel like he's granted the most Make-A-Wishes. So for him to do this bad guy run on his way out is going to be something that we have never experienced before as wrestling fans.
Shout out to Brandon for pulling this out. This is crazy.
Yeah.
John Cena holds the Guinness World Record for the most Make-A-Wishes granted by a single individual, with over 650 wishes granted.
So how can you look at that and say that's a bad guy? So that's what's
insane.
making it challenging is like he's doing a really good run right now as a bad guy, cutting the bad guy promos, talking bad about the fans, and it's really been fun to experience. I never anticipated seeing it live. This is going to be crazy to see at WrestleMania, and the significance of if he does win at Mania.
Interesting. Okay, so the significance of winning, I know we talked a little bit about this before, but Topps announced earlier this week, I think this was yesterday, so for the people listening, this would have been about 5-6 days ago, that there's a couple things. Debut patches are coming to WWE. We'll get into that in a second. Mm-hmm. But in addition to that, WWE superstars will wear WrestleMania patches for one-of-one trading cards starting this weekend. So from what you know, who should we expect will have a WrestleMania patch from this weekend?
So, and I could be wrong, but I think everyone who is scheduled to have a match both nights. So I think that's like, I don't know how many matches that is, but that's a lot of people.
Okay.
They will have
a lot like 10 or a lot like 50?
I think like more like 50, because you got to factor in like the Fatal 4-Ways and the Triple Threats and the tag team matches and all the multi-man matches. And with it being 2 nights,
so it's a good amount of people.
It's going to be a good amount of people, but it's still going to be a very limited amount.
Okay.
So I would say probably under 100,
okay.
Probably more, or probably close to it. I would have to definitely look at the match cards and just kind of get a head count, but it's not going to be a crazy amount.
Okay, understood.
Basically, what they're going to do is they're going to put that WrestleMania patch on their boots.
Yep.
So after they wrestle, they'll go back in the back. Fanatics will authenticate it. They'll cut it out. They'll have them sign the one-on-one card, and then it'll be randomly inserted. And I think it's going to be future Topps Chrome products.
You think that's where it'll be?
They haven't really specified what it's going to go in.
Yeah, it just says these will be inserted into random packs of an upcoming trading card collection for lucky fans.
Mm-hmm. And this is going to be a big deal for wrestling fans. I think it
Huge.
really is, because the historical impact that this could have potentially for some of the big matches like Cena and Cody, it's going to be insane.
I mean, we've had this conversation before when we've talked about it with baseball.
Mm-hmm.
With, you know, I made the claim on when the Paul Skeens debut patch auto sold that the Paul Skeens debut patch auto will be the single best card ever created for Paul Skeens. You could not top that. I've made that argument. I believe debut, game used, patch auto, on card, that exists. That is the best Paul Skeens card they will ever make. Would you make the argument that this will be the best cards for a lot of these modern day wrestlers now? Cody, Cody's a great example. I'll get into the Cena piece in a second, but like for most of these guys, will this be like their best cards? Do you envision that being the case?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, because like we talked about it before we went live, like if John Cena was to win the main event, he breaks Ric Flair's record. The significant impact of that for being having the most title reigns in WWE history, having 17 world titles. To say that you have the patch auto of a guy that broke the record, that is just a historical impact. And even guys like CM Punk, to pull the curtain back a little bit, CM Punk went on absence. He went on leave for like 10 years. He walked out on the company because one of the things he really wanted to do was main event at WrestleMania. And he was getting passed on and bypassed for other people. And eventually he took his ball and went home. 10 years later, he's back and he's main eventing WrestleMania. For night one, he's main eventing WrestleMania.
That's the person that Topps featured on their article. So there's clearly, like, this is where Brandon is the wrestling expert, because I would have never in a million years known why CM Punk was the guy featured on the WrestleMania debut patch, but that makes a ton of sense. So that's obviously CM Punk, again, because of that backstory, huge card for CM Punk.
Absolutely.
But just so I'm on the same page, John Cena winning breaks the world record for most wrestling titles ever, beats Ric Flair, and did it while turning heel on his way out with his last WrestleMania ever. So first time you ever see a debut patch auto, or first time you ever see a WrestleMania patch auto, turning heel, final ever, breaking the world record. Could you say that this John Cena card, wherever it comes, could be one of the greatest wrestling cards ever made?
With 100%, without a doubt. Because you see this nostalgia with guys like Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair. That's a lot of people that grew up watching them, in the 80s, 90s. Kids like me, John Cena was our Hulk Hogan, was our Ric Flair. Yeah, as we get a little bit older, we are the ones that are starting to collect this product and these cards. There is going to be someone out there that is willing to spend a massive amount for something as historical as this, if he wins. If he doesn't win, it's still going to be significant because of this is his last year competing. He'll never wrestle again. So even if he doesn't win, it's still going to sell really well. But if he's a 17-time champion, all said and done, and he's the guy, he's going to go down as the greatest of all time, which I think he already is. But I think he's going to go down as the greatest of all time. And if you have a GOAT WrestleMania patch auto 101, it's the only one that's ever going to be made. It's going to be.
There's just so much historical significance behind it because of the turn heel, the breaking the world record, first ever WrestleMania patch auto on his retirement tour. Like, I think you've got so much of that stuff built into it. It just seems like, I guess I would ask you this. Does he win? Do we sit here Monday when this podcast drops and you say, he beat Cody, he turned heel, he won, it's over?
As a fan, I absolutely want John Cena to win. As a long-term fan growing up with the WWE spinner belt, the toy belts, and the T-shirts and the wristbands, I don't care. He's a bad guy. He sold his soul to The Rock, but as a true wrestling fan, I want to see him break the record. That is my GOAT. I want to see him walk out. I want to see him December 31st when he is gone, when he's gone for good, he can say that he has the record. I think as a fan, I think it makes sense for him to win, kind of see where it goes, because the whole thing with Cody, the whole thing with him was he wanted to finish the story. He wanted to win the title that his dad never got. He finally got that chance. He beat Roman Reigns. It was a historical event at Last Mania. Yeah, it took him years to find himself, come back as a main event guy, win the title. He's kind of floated around through storylines. He's been incredible. Don't get me wrong, he's been incredible. But it would make so much sense for him to drop the title, have John Cena win, break the record, and have that story of Cody getting back to the top and essentially dethroning Cena. That's where I want to see. I could see the scenario where Cody goes out on top, but as a true fan, I really want to see Cena break that record. I really do.
Interesting. All right, well, there's a couple other big ones this weekend. Big, because it sounds like they're the main event, but they also go with the buyback. Mm-hmm. So who are they, and who do you think is going to win those?
So I believe the buyback is going to be Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair for the women's.
Yep.
And it's going to be the ring general Gunther and main event Jey Uso.
Yep.
I believe night one actually kicks off with Gunther and Jey Uso.
Okay.
So they will basically start the buyback process there.
Yep.
I think with how they've been writing the stories with Jey Uso, I believe he will be the underdog that comes out on top against Gunther. Gunther's been one of those bad guys that just bullies Jey Uso. He attacked his brother, made him bleed. It's been a blood feud. It's been crazy. I think with the popularity that Jey Uso has, I think as much as I like Gunther, I think Jey Uso just gets it done. Okay. For all my wrestling fans, yeet is his catchphrase. Yeet. So I think he opens the show with a win.
Okay.
You know, keeps the fans happy. With the women's, it could go either way. Charlotte Flair is regarded as one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time with how many championships she has. I think it's like 12 already with how many she has for women's titles. I could see her beating Tiffany Stratton, but Tiffany Stratton's red hot right now. Fans love her. She's young. She's incredible in the ring. I could see her retaining as well. So I'm fairly confident that Jey Uso is going to be the buyback for the men's. The women's is where it's really going to be a 50-50 on who they think should have the title.
What does your gut tell you?
I want to say Tiffany Stratton. I want to say they do new champion, current champion. I feel like that's what they want to do. New champ, still champ with Jey Uso and Tiffany Stratton. But it could really go either way with the women's.
Gotcha. Interesting. So that will lead to starting, so Saturday, so that means Sunday, whoever wins, basically buyback will be in effect for the men's, and then women's will be Sunday. This will be the first time they've ever done a lot of this stuff with buyback, debut patches, WrestleMania, all of that stuff. But we have it in other sports, especially the buyback. Obviously, that happens in hobby shops. Mm-hmm. You work in the hobby shop, with us daily. What has the baseball one been like, and how do you think that will work with wrestling? Do you think there'll be, we actually didn't talk about this beforehand, but like we did the UFC buyback, and the UFC one had way less demand, way less than the baseball. The baseball one is crazy. I'll let you get more into that. But where do you see the wrestling one stacking up in some of the buybacks we've done so far?
Now, if we compare it with the UFC, I think it'll do 100 times better. And I think they've learned with that because with the UFC, they did one match. They did the main event, and the main event was over in like 2 minutes. Like I think Jamal Hill. Was it Jamal Hill? I think he got embarrassed.
Really?
So yeah. So it just like with the one match, the buyback, there was a lot of uncertainty with it being one match, and UFC's not as popular in the card world.
Is that when Pereira won?
I believe so.
It looks like Pereira.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. It says right there, beat up. It says we'll be buying back 2024 Topps Chrome Alex Pereira cards.
Yeah. I'm not too big in the UFC, so I don't know who he fought. I think that name sounds familiar with who he beat. But in the card world, professional wrestling is 100 times more active in the shop, at least in our shop, at least 100 times more active and 100 times more in demand for us. With wrestling having the buyback and the significance of this, I think that it will be a massive success for Topps and for card shops like us. Now with baseball, you had guys like Ellie De La Cruz, Paul Skeens, guys that were driving that market up significantly.
Plus the buyback, just a lot of demand in that class being great and the buyback potential.
Yeah, absolutely. And with all that, I think depending on who the buyback is, I think it could be a massive success. We have been selling Topps Chrome incredibly well. It's one of the hottest wrestling things we have that sells really, really well. It just depends on who wins, I think, honestly. But regardless, I'm curious to see how it goes. I think it's going to be a massive success.
So there's a couple things that you said there that have me thinking. One is the first thing about the title matches. I didn't actually think about it like that, where having multiple helps, where versus the UFC we only have one. It only gives you one opportunity to get somebody. This gives you an opportunity to have multiple. Baseball has multiple. You have an AL and an NL. I think that's a great catch that I never thought of, that you now have multiple opportunities to hit multiple people, because I don't know if it matters. I don't know if any of these four have it, but some of the wrestlers have variations in Chrome. So like The Rock, Hogan, Cena, a lot of those guys have different variations. So I don't know if any of those four do, but it is interesting that it's multiple. So I like that you caught that, because I definitely didn't think about that.
I think they do have variations, which is interesting. Yeah. I don't know how many parallels are in the WWE world.
Yep.
But I know I'm 90% sure they have variations.
Brian, if you're going to the checklist, you can do like search like Stratton, and then if she shows up multiple times in the base set, like right there. Oh, that's Stratton. Like see if she's on there multiple times. So we're looking into that now, see if they have variations. But I think that is an interesting one that they include. So Flair does have one.
Yeah, nice.
All right, so it looks like there's one right above it there, 215. Yeah, Charlotte Flair has a lot of cards.
Oh my goodness.
Holy cow! Charlotte Flair's got 10.
Yep. She's Charlotte Flair is one of those women that's been around for 10 plus years now, which is crazy to think.
But, Reese mentioned earlier when we were talking about this, he mentioned that, is she not liked?
It's 50-50. I think people...
So she's pretty polar.
And I think that comes from a little bit of the, Nepo baby type deal where,
little nepotism there.
That's Ric Flair's daughter, and she came into the business as Ric Flair's daughter and had basically immediate success. Was, I think she was the first NXT Women's Champion. She made the main roster and has, I think, 10 plus women's titles now, like in her under her belt. Like,
wow.
People are polarizing for her, I think, because she goes away for a while and then she comes back and she's automatically in the main event scene. So some people are like, give some other women a chance.
Gotcha.
Things like that. Like she came back and made her re-debut after a couple years in the Royal Rumble, won it, and that's how she's fighting Stratton for the title. It's just basically rocketed back to the top.
Interesting.
So it's 50-50.
Totally get it. The other thing you said in the piece, though, is, you're like, wrestling is the Topps Chrome boxes are on fire. So a lot of those are, I think, nearly $500 hobby boxes these days on the market. It seems like Topps has done a really good job with starting the WWE license, right? Because I know this was their first release back. You have the Rock autos in there. You have so many main wrestlers. There's so many of them. I mean, I know The Rock has autos. That's obviously one of the big chases. Cody's in it. Tiffany's in it. Roman, Cody, Tiffany. I'm sure you can name a dozen more. You've got that. Now you add the debut patches. The WrestleMania patches are coming. You're adding the buyback. You've got the Cena storyline. Just all of this buzz and demand around this. It's not something I had really thought about, but it's, I think Topps has got the blueprint with the baseball, with the buyback, the product, the debut patches, and it seems like they've basically done the same thing to wrestling, and it seems like, first glance, seems to be a pretty big success.
Yeah.
As a wrestling collector, have you been impressed with what they've done so far?
1,000%. I really commend Fanatics and Topps for doing what they're able to do. Even having chases like The Rock. The Rock didn't have on-card autos or autos in a product since 1999. I wasn't even born yet when he had the next time he had autos is till now. And with Fanatics having specific athletes that they have contracts with, The Rock, Stone Cold, John Cena, like everyone that we think in the wrestling world, everyone who's in that debated like Mount Rushmore, who's in that top 4, top 5, a lot of these guys are signing for Topps products. So it's a big deal to chase guys like Stone Cold, The Rock, dual autos of those guys, John Cena, just heavy hitters that are signing. So you have those chases as well as, in-demand stuff like superfractors or color blasts or actually no, I think color blast is Panini.
It's Helix.
Helix, sorry.
It's called.
Helix, yeah.
Yeah, the Helix. But you also had Sapphire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sapphire was a big demand. I mean, I know those have sold really well. I think your point though is interesting. It's like, is this going to go in a future Topps Chrome product? Because you would imagine this is not the only Topps product they're going to release. Topps is not going to just say wrestling's only getting Topps Chrome. Like, you just know there's other things coming.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling like that's where you're going to see some, my personal opinion is I think that's where you're going to see some of the debut patch autos is, Topps has done it with basketball. Like, they just got the they don't have the basketball license yet, but you've seen some products like a Chrome or a Cosmic or a Finest. But then you got products like the Panini or the Topps 3 basketball, where like it's 3 cards, $500 a box. Those high-end products are coming to wrestling.
Yeah,
and I think that's where you're going to see some of these chases. Again, they do it in Topps Chrome Update in baseball, which is normally not an insanely expensive product. Now you got a debut patch auto, and you got a Paul Skeens box selling for nearly $1,000 before it had been pulled. So yeah, I mean, as someone that is a very novice collector of it, it's definitely seems like this is a huge win for Topps in the early stages.
They're doing their best to make wrestling a forefront of collecting and making sure that it's as collectible as baseball, football, basketball. And they're doing a really, really good job of it because the WWE is a global thing. It is a massive hit around the world. So for them to make it as collectible as it's becoming, it's starting to become more popular. Things are starting to become more expensive in turn, but it's becoming really, really fun.
I think one of the things that wrestling does, again, I do not watch it as much, but one of the things I've said, and I know we've talked about this, is wrestling's ability to incorporate culture into it, right? Like, I'm a big believer that when Logan Paul has cards in Topps product, it will be a humongous deal. It will be, if Logan Paul has a Topps Chrome Superfractor one day in wrestling or a debut patch auto, like, that card will do crazy numbers. But one of those things you're going to see is, you sent this to me, is the Cactus Jack product.
Absolutely.
Right? That product will already have been live by the time this episode drops, but it drops Friday. What do you think about that product? Just quick glance on what you saw.
As a Travis Scott fan myself, he was a big impact on me in high school, but just seeing the culture that WWE is coming mainstream. We are getting top artists like that with millions of followers on Spotify wanting to participate with the WWE. He got in the ring at Elimination Chamber and he smacked Cody pretty good, hit him upside the head pretty good. But I think he caught the wrestling bug where he's all in now. We will 100% probably see him at WrestleMania this weekend. And with things like this, where, again, Topps has all these good relationships where they can merge some of the stuff like Travis Scott's Cactus Jack brand with the Topps Chrome Wrestling. So being able to see something like this, it's awesome as a wrestling fan, seeing things become more mainstream and some of this stuff becoming more popular. And as the product, they did a good job at putting some different stuff in. Like I was explaining to you, like one of the next up women in the NXT brand right now is Julia. Came over from Japan, really, really good. Her first autos are going to be in this product. Her first autos for the wrestling for WWE is going to be in this product. And I think that will sell significantly well because of how amazing she is.
Brian's got the WrestleMania. It's on Top's website here. Looks like it's the EQL drop. It says these are available at WrestleMania, and you can also buy it online April 17th.
Friday they drop on the website. Thursday today, as we're recording, is when the WWE World, like their big WWE shop for the weekend, is going to have limited quantity.
Where's it at?
They're in Vegas.
Brian, we should look up flights to Vegas.
I'm telling you. Gotta
send Brandon. Brandon will, I mean, definitely come back with some of this stuff. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but it looks like it's insane. Again, I know you said her name's Julia.
Julia.
Yeah, you've been mentioning her for a while now. So, I saw Topps had featured her auto on like their main page. That she's gonna have autos in there. Yeah, right there. Brian starts with the G. So she's in there. The autograph checklist isn't very long, isn't very big, so it's definitely gonna look. Just appears to be a limited release. That checklist isn't insane, but The Rock, Tiffany Stratton, Travis Scott, Julia,
Undertaker,
Roman Reigns, John Cena. I mean, that's as pretty good of a checklist as you can imagine on a very limited edition product. We were at Fanatics Fest. And Fanatics Fest is where I knew wrestling fans were. I've talked about this on many card show vlogs. There is not a more devoted, true collector base than wrestling. It doesn't exist. They are the most passionate collectors, and we saw it firsthand at Fanatics Fest. Because Fanatics Fest, they showed out. They were loud in a good way. I mean, you got to do the entrance. I mean, you're laughing now, but it's wrestling. That's where I really saw it. But what I also saw at Fanatics Fest was the demand for the Cactus Jack product and what a limited edition release around an event does. Those boxes were insane. I think we passed on them. What was the number, Brian? 1,000?
I think at very first people were offering us like $500 for them.
It was something insanely cheap. And they were up to thousands of dollars. We're like, no way, this is crazy. Like, you're not guaranteed anything. We'll pass. And then they skyrocketed. And just looking back on it now, with everything going on, like we talked about earlier, Cena, what WrestleMania is, Topps Chrome first release with WWE, it just seems like this. I should clarify because I'm sure I'll get pulled out of context. This is not the first time Topps Chrome has had WWE. This is their return to the WWE license. They've had Topps Chrome before, and I know that. But with so many things going around this, you're dropping the Cactus Jack product, limited edition release around WrestleMania. It seems like this product could do incredibly well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see kind of what happens with this drop. I'm gonna try to get it Friday morning. I'm gonna be up. I'm hopefully not get hopefully I get a box or so, but I'm not anticipating it because of how in demand this is probably gonna be. But I'm gonna try my best to try to get one. Just I love Travis Scott. I love professional wrestling. Seeing worlds collide right now with some of the stuff that I've loved my whole life, basically. It's going to be really fun to see how it does.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, and I am not even in the same spectrum as a collector, as a fan as you. Like, you are definitely the most knowledgeable, passionate collector I've met in the space. So, appreciate you coming on and even have this conversation. Absolutely. I know I learned a lot. Hopefully, those at home learned a lot. Hopefully we sit back on here on Monday and you're like perfect on your predictions.
I hope so.
Because I take a lot of my advice around like how these things are going to turn out from you. So I greatly appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Shout out to my guy, Brandon, for coming on the pod this week. Brandon is certainly one of, if not the most passionate collector I've ever met for WWE. his knowledge is second to none. So love chatting with him about the space, as I just don't know it as well. And Brandon is super, super educated in the wrestling space. He's a great person. So love having him a part of the team, and grateful he got to come on and drop some knowledge. Hopefully we look back on this episode, and say, again, I told him this, but hopefully those picks were right. Curious to see, because if not, might give him some crap a little bit if they were off. But all in good fun. Brandon's a great guy, so if you guys see him in shop, make sure you say hey. Last but not least, we got some product dropping this week. Not as crazy as last week's. Last week's, again, you had Phoenix Topps 3 basketball. No, I think that actually dropped the week before. But you had Tribute Baseball, you had Masterworks Star Wars. A lot of product dropped last week. But this week is going to be big. You've got Optic Football. One of, if not one of the premium, one of, if not the top premium brands in football. And I've got a little take on this in a second I want to get into. But Optic Football dropping this week, certainly the headline. You've got some hockey product dropping. It says Ice and SP Game Used. We'll see if both drop. Sage Football High Series, likely a lot of the draft guys, so another opportunity to pull some of those. Leaf, Metal, Pop Century, an awesome product Leaf does, has a lot of cool celebrities, actors, actresses, names like that. So I think it's one of the products Leaf does a great job on. I know I love ripping some of that with my wife, so we'll definitely check that out. Topps Motif Basketball, another Topps basketball product, and then Heritage Baseball, really one of those popular sets that collectors love. But the optic piece, with that dropping this week, I've seen I debated this being the one thing on my mind, but with the National being 100 days away, didn't really get into it. Just the National is the National, so that was my thing today. But with Optic, I'm really hoping that Panini at some point will make the Prism retail more desirable. I've seen a lot of the hits on social, I'm sure many of you have, with, hey, I pulled this downtown or uptown or some type of really cool case hit out of an Optic blaster, an Optic fat pack. I think I saw one on Facebook where a collector hit a Michael Penix like uptown gold vinyl out of like a blaster or a pack. I don't know exactly what it is. I'll try to get it for the video clip. But it was like a Michael Penix out of a blaster, mega fat pack, whatever it was. But that's a 101. The case hit demand fuels so much of the retail. You saw them do this. Panini did this with basketball this year. They made mangas. Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they were retail exclusive this year. The mangas were a retail parallel. We had someone pull a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander out of our shop, out of a blaster, sold it for like 3 Gs. I don't know what this comp at now, but mangas being in retail drove some of the basketball demand. Prism is the brand in cards. I think if you ask anybody what's the most desirable rookie card, it's not usually Optic, it's not usually Select. Select's got field level, club level, premier level. I'm sure I'm missing one or two. But they've got 4 or 5 different variations. Mosaic, Optic aren't usually as in demand. But then you got Prism, and everybody wants the Prism rookie. But Optic's usually the one with the on-card autos. Optic's the one with the case hits in the retail. It's like Prism is the desired one, but it doesn't have that demand on the retail. You've got the lasers, you've got the red, white, and blues, you've got greens, you've got pinks, but you don't have a case hit. Prism with a case hit in the retail would really drive demand to that and make that definitely the more superior retail product. But right now, with the ability to pull Genesis and some of these case hits out of Mosaic, and to pull downtowns and uptowns and some of the case hits from Optic, right? And then Select's got tigers or zebras normally. The ability to pull the better case hits in retail from products 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down. Absolute's got kabooms. Donruss has downtowns. The only one that doesn't have the case hits to really pull is Prism. It's really the only one that doesn't have a case hit in the retail format. I would love to see Panini improve that next year. As again, I don't know when the license goes away. Like, I don't know exactly the timeline there. I've talked about that before. But if they have NFL trading cards next year, the ability to pull a manga or a case hit, like a color blast, whatever that may be, even if they are harder to pull, the ability to pull them in retail, I would love to see that. Optic is a great product. It's one of my favorites. Again, the on-card autos, I love the rated rookie look, the case hit potential. Especially for the price being so much cheaper, I think you could make the argument Optic is a better rip for the price than Prism, but Prism is the one the market has decided that is in demand and sells better. But I would love to see there be some retail exclusive chase or a retail potential chase, even if it's not exclusive, if it's manga, color blast, whatever it is. I think that's one of the things that's really needed from Prism. I think you just see it so much in the other products, and those do incredibly well. I would love to see it added to retail in the future. What do you guys think? Agree, disagree? Prism's already so good. Keep it as is. Add that chase. Drop those comments. Let me know what you guys thought of this one. If you guys are on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you guys leave us that 5-star review. Would love to know what you guys think. Would always love ways to improve this. If you guys have any feedback, make sure you guys shoot us a DM on IG. It's Cards and Content. But for now, that is all I got. Peace, guys.